Hello! Look what Nick bought me for Valentine's Day. I am spoiled rotten. It is the most beautiful looking box of Holbein Artists Gouache, and as you can probably see up in this corner, I have a visitor today who is hanging out on my desk. Hello! So Gandalf's just hanging out on my bench at the moment. So he can stay there because he's not causing too much trouble. I'll probably have to move him in a bit though. Back to this amazing set of gouache. I've been looking around for a nice set to get, and we wandered down to the art shop just to have a look, and they had this set along with 3 other ones. This one is summer here. It says Traditional Colors of Japan. I've never seen this set before. They also have spring, autumn and winter, and I was looking at them going, I want them all, but they're so expensive. Oh my goodness. So I'm happy with summer. Summer has got the colours which I think are a little more standard. So we can see on here, it's the set that has black and white as well. And since I don't really have a lot of gouache, I thought it might be nice to have something that's got the standard colours. The spring set's got all of these really pretty looking pastel colours, so I might end up picking that up eventually, but Nick said happy Valentine's Day and he bought this box for me, so I'm not going to argue with that. He also got me in a different place this pen. It's a multi-tool pen, and I'd got him one ages ago in silver, but he found one in pink, and so he got it for me. He's so sweet, honestly. It's so cool. It's got little rulers on it. It has a stylus. Inside it's got a tiny little screwdriver, and also on the other side it has the flat one. It's so neat, and I just love the colour of it. So yes, spoiled rotten. I did end up buying Nick something to go with the card. I got him this little brass magnifying glass. It's a really cute one. And then it came in a really cute gift bag, which would have been about the equivalent of this pen. And then of course he upped the ante by getting me the box of gouache as well. And one other thing that we got at the art shop for free is this. It is a gouache by Royal Talons, and the funny thing was we were just chatting with the owners of the art shop talking about this gouache set and how we'd never seen it, and he said that they'd received an order of some other things and they'd ended up with 12 of these gouache jars just randomly in the box, and they never ordered them. They're all the same colour, this rose colour. So he said, do you want one? And I said yes please, so I have a free jar of pink gouache here. But anyway, I am going to get on and paint with this gouache today. Let's open it and check it out. Seriously, how am I supposed to get work done when you're sitting there, my dear? But you're so sweet. You can hang out for a bit longer, I think. So this is traditional gouache. It's the artist's level. There is also designer gouache, and I'm not really sure what the difference is between the two of them, but I think the artist's gouache is a level above it, something like that. I don't know. These are not cheap, that's for sure, but let's take a look at how gorgeous those tubes are. I have to give it to Holbein. They do some really pretty packaging, and I've used some of their professional watercolour paints and they're really nice as well, so I have high hopes for these. I commented only recently on Miranda's video where she'd bought the M. Graham gouaches, and I said that I was considering those because the art shop does stock them, but now I guess I'm going to be going with the Holbein versions instead. Actually, Holbein tends to be a bit more easily available in Australia than M. Graham. Let's pull one out. So these are 15mm tubes. They're not huge, but they are also a bit larger than the 5mm tubes, which Holbein often do sets in 5mm. I think a 15mm just goes a lot further. So this first one is Scarlett. Then we have orange yellow, canola yellow, Taisha brown, spring green, evergreen, bamboo green, which I'm pretty sure is a phthalo green if it's the same as the watercolour, ultramarine, oriental blue, Edo violet, black and white. So it's a fairly standard set, and I think I would like to eventually expand to some of the more unusual colours, but I think this should be a really fun set to begin with, and I am so excited to squeeze these out and swatch them. And of course I've actually run out of palettes at the moment, so I think I'm just going to squeeze a few little dots onto this ceramic one that I have. It also has a tiny bit of shimmery watercolor paint in that corner, but we'll just put a few little dots on here. This gouache is traditional and it will re-wet. It's not like the acrylic gouache or acrylic gouache, which once it dries, it never re-wets again. I prefer the stuff that re-wets because then at least you can use your palette more than once. And now it is time for Gandalf to move because he's decided that I am far more interesting than the table and I can't be working like this. I think gouache is one of those types of paints that tends to work better when it's wet anyway, so I'm just going to use small amounts today and play around with them. See what I can get. Oh, look how satisfying that is. What a gorgeous colour this one is. So I'm just using miserly amounts for now, and I'll probably add more when I get to painting. I'm also going to swatch the colours so we can see what they look like. Oh no, the bamboo green is not phthalo green, it's totally different to the watercolour version. The watercolour version is much deeper than that. That's a pretty colour. Oh, I like that one, that's really gorgeous. That's like a teal. My rather mangled looking sketchbook, this cover is coming off there. That's okay. I'm trying to get through it. It's taking forever, so I thought I'd work in here today. Oh, that's just brilliant, Becky. I'm doing so well today. Oh my gosh, I'm going to try that again. Oh well, it'll do. I'm hoping this gouache is going to be somewhat opaque anyway. Here we go. I've ruled some lines on them to see how opaque they are. I'm pretty sure some of them are not very opaque. It's just the nature of them, like ultramarine. I'm not expecting to be opaque at all. I would say it's more translucent, but I had another look and I did find the pigment numbers on them. Flip it around. There it is there. It's tiny. Anyway, I'm not going to worry too much about that. I've put the pigment numbers down. I'm pretty sure my gouache has since dried in the little dish because it is very warm and dry in Melbourne, so everything dries really quickly. This is why I don't want to get acrylic gouache because I know it will just dry out too fast on me. At least this stuff will re-wet. Here's hoping it will anyway. I'm about to find out. It did, and wow, is that Scarlett a bright colour. I love that one. It's so beautiful. You can see there is a slight amount of opacity with it, and I noticed this with all of the colours, even the ones that are the most translucent, like this orange yellow. When they dried, they seem to pick up that opacity a little bit more. I also noticed the opacity coming through when I layered the paints on top of each other. So the Taisha brown here was considerably more opaque than some of the others. You can see it's a mix of 3 colours, and quite a lot of the paints in this set are mixes of multiple pigments. Now the spring green and the evergreen, they look different on the tubes, but they actually came out quite similar to one another. If there's one thing I wish could be different, it's that the evergreen would be darker. I always love to have a dark green, and here's that bamboo green, which I really like. It is actually phthalo green blue shade, and it's mixed in with a bit of white, but it's a great opaque colour for gouache. Ultramarine, as I suspected, is pretty much transparent, as is the oriental blue, which looks like it's made up of phthalo blue and a little bit of phthalo green blue shade. So it does have a slightly more turquoise look. And the Irodori violet, that's made up of ultramarine and a red pigment. I'm pretty sure it's quinacridone magenta. It looks quite similar to dioxazine purple. And then we have a really opaque black and a pretty opaque white. The white does need a few layers though. And while I'm at it, I might as well swatch out this thing as well. Okay, so the Holbein paints have no smell whatsoever. This stinks to high heaven. It smells like calamine lotion or something. It's horrible, to be quite honest. So I'm going to paint this out pretty quickly and get that lid back on. Whew, it stinks so badly. I noticed this one has a much gummier texture due to a lot of binder, but it was nicer with the addition of some water. I mean, the colour's pretty, but it smells awful. So I think I might be giving that one away. I'm very glad we got it for free. I had seen a set of those jars online on Amazon, I think, and I was considering them, but if this one smells like that, I'm not getting any more of those. Sorry, Royal Talons, but yuck. Unless it's old stock or something and it's gone off, but terrible smell. Anyway, happily, these ones do not smell of anything and I can use them without worry. So if I lift them up, you can see there is a little bit of opacity even on some of the ones which are more of a translucent quality, and that's the nature of them. I prefer my gouache to be quite opaque, so I really like this bamboo green. It has white in it, that's why it's so opaque. The white itself will need another layer or two on it. I find with my experience with gouaches that they do go better with layering and you can get that opacity from them. So I think today I'll paint in this sketchbook and get a feel of the gouache. I'm liking the colours so far. I mean, they're really vibrant. They're not chalky or anything. There's just that slight gouache opacity to them. So I'll paint in here, and I think maybe in my next video or one very soon, I'm going to do some gouache painting on toned paper as well. For my first painting, I actually taped it off with washi tape. I decided just to go in with the paints. I had no idea of what I was going to do. I painted somewhat of a gradient from the blues up into the greens and yellow. I just thought it would be fun to paint a background, and then I could see what the paints would act like over the top of each other. Because gouache is meant to be layered, and because it is somewhat opaque, you can put it on top of different colours and still see the paint, unlike watercolours, which are usually far more transparent and don't work as well when layered on opposing colours. But despite the fact that these looked quite translucent when I first painted them out, they actually are really great at sitting on top of each other. You can see even the translucent oranges and reds managed to sit well over blue and green without mixing in and turning into a muddy colour. So I was quite impressed with them. They worked a lot better than I initially thought they were going to. The purple over the yellow you could see a little bit of clashing, but otherwise they weren't too bad. And mixing in the white with any colour will also make it a lot more opaque. And a bit lighter too, but I don't mind that when it comes to gouache. So I had fun with these. I'm not very experienced using gouache yet, but I really enjoyed this little painting. It was just a doodle out of my imagination, really, and it turned out a lot better than I was actually expecting it to. And there's the tape peeling off, and here's my first little painting that I did. Now onto the second one, and I am working from a photograph in this, and I also decided to tape this one as well. It's very unusual for me to tape off the edges in my sketchbooks, but I thought I would try and be neat for at least one or two of them, also because I really wanted to add quite a lot of paint. The reference photo I used was one I saw in the Facebook reference photo group. It's basically a scene where sunlight is dappling through trees, and it just looked amazing, and I really wanted to paint it. I've wanted to paint it for quite a long time, and I thought gouache would be more effective than watercolour. So that dark green that I'm painting in now is a mix of the evergreen and some of that pure black. Because there is no dark green in this, I just had to resort to using the black to mix it in, but I actually think that quite a lot of perylene greens tend to have a black pigment mixed through them, so it worked out quite well, but I would love to just have a tube of perylene green because it's so much easier. And then I tried to add in some lighter areas with yellow mixed with white, and here I am going in with pure white, trying to get the look of the sunbeams streaking across the foliage. I don't think I did it very well. It was actually far more difficult than it looked, and I think mine's just not quite as natural as the photograph, but it kind of turned out okay in the end. So what I'm doing here now is going in with the foreground, which is another lot of trees, and this area is meant to be a lot brighter and darker so that it sits over the top, and I was trying to get a bit of a 3D effect so that you can see these trees are in the foreground and then the other ones are in the distance with the sunlight dappling through them. I don't know, tell me what you think about this painting and was it effective? Okay, now I'm looking at the final painting. It actually turned out pretty well, and you at least get the idea of sunbeams. Anyway, my third picture that I managed to get done in this video, I decided to draw with that ballpoint pen that Nick also bought me for Valentine's Day. So I didn't use any pencil, I just started sketching with the ballpoint pen. Any mistakes that are made just have to be in the picture because you can't rub it out. But I do love drawing with pens. It's so much fun, especially ballpoint pens. They're just really great to use and you can get quite a variety of lines depending on how much pressure you put on the paper with the pen. So I'm drawing a cassowary and they always look really angry. They've got this frowny face to them. They are very aggressive birds. They're related to emus and they live up in far northern parts of Australia. They're rather beautiful in their way, but they're also terrifying. Their huge legs and claws are absolutely lethal, so you don't want to get near them. But they do have amazing coloration, and I thought I would paint one of these guys for my final painting today. It turned out pretty well. I enjoyed using the gouache on it, and it was nice to layer up on the bird. I also used up quite a lot of the paint that was left on the palette mud I like to call it, in the background, and that's a really great way to just use up all of the paint that you have without having to waste any. I didn't tape this one. I don't like my sketchbook to be all neatly taped. I like some pages to be messy, so that's what this ended up being, but I do like the final result on this one. I think I'll call it done for today. I got 3 paintings in, these 2 and this little one over here, which turned out surprisingly well. I wasn't expecting very much considering this was just something I started doodling and then it turned into this, but I really like the colours on that one. And here they all are over here. I didn't end up using the rose one because it smells too bad. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I like the colour, but the smell is just too much. This one turned out okay. I think it looks a bit more effective now I'm looking at it again. I wasn't too sure I had managed to get that white sunbeam coming through. It's maybe not quite as natural looking as I would like it to be, but it's okay for a little sketch. And then my little angry cassowary here, I quite like him as well. So I used up most of the paint. There's just a tiny little bit. I did have to add some more white because I'd completely run out of that, and I will probably do some more sketches just to finish up this paint so none of it goes to waste. And you can see I've barely used any out of the tube, so a little does go a long way with these professional ones. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about gouache. Do you like using it? I am going to do another video using some toned paper with the gouache, but I thought I would do that separately because otherwise it's a lot of art in one hit to do, and I like to take breaks between so I can recalibrate and think of new artworks to make. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click that subscribe button, and I will see you all again really soon in my next video. Swatch you later. Bye!